And it's the final trading week of November. Good morning, good evening, wherever in the world you're watching from. It's Business Morning coming to you live from Channels HQ right here in Lagos. Thank you for sharing your morning with us. Let's kick off with some news now. Let's get a check on the FX market. We see the Naira was pounded yesterday at the official window. The Naira depreciated by 2.4% to 814 Naira to the dollar at the Nigerian Autonomous foreign exchange market. The intraday high recorded was at 1,130 Naira to the dollar, while the intraday low was at 700 Naira to the dollar, representing a wide spread of 429 Naira to the dollar. According to data obtained from the official NAFEM window, Forex turnover at the close of trading was at $100.06 million, representing a 31.97% increase compared to the previous day. And to other stories now, the president has reappointed Mr. Mele Kyari as the Group Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited. According to a statement released by the presidency, President Bola Tinubu also approved the appointment of a new board and management team for the state oil firm with effect from December the 1st. The list includes the NNPCL appointees include Mr. Pius Keilure as a non-executive board chairman, Mr. Omar Ajia as a chief financial officer, Mr. Ledum Miti and Mr. Musa Tumsa, both as non-executive directors. Other non-executive directors appointed on the board include Mr. Gali Mohammed, Professor Mustafa Aliyu, Mr. David Ogbodo, and Mrs. Eunice Thomas. Let's get a check on the oil market now. See, oil prices rose slightly today due to a weak dollar and expectations that the OPEC plus producer group would deepen and extend output cuts due to fears demand would remain subdued. Brent crude futures was up by 11 cents to $80.09 a barrel, while US WTI crude futures were trading at 4 cents higher, about 0.1% at $74.90 a barrel. Both benchmarks paired some gains after rising sharply in early Asian trade. OPEC Plus, which combines the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries and allies, including Russia, will hold an online ministerial meeting on November the 30th to discuss production targets for 2024. I guess investors will be looking out for that. Let's get a check on the grains market now. See, wheat, Chicago wheat rose for the first time in 3 sessions today as bargain buying supported the market, although improved health of the U.S. winter crop limited the upside potential in prices. The most active wheat contract on the Chicago Board of Trade, WV1, rose 0.3% to $5.62 for half a bushel, while after dropping about 2.8% in the last session. Soybeans, SV1, added 0.4% at $13.34 for 3/4 of a bushel, and corn, CV1, was unmoved at $4.75 for 1/4 of a bushel. And Ultimum Limited has announced its prestigious partnership as the exclusive official soft drink brand of the next year's African Cup of Nations in Côte d'Ivoire. This collaboration marks a significant milestone, aligning Razzle with the most eagerly anticipated football event in Africa. Take a listen.
With less than 2 months to the start of the Africa Cup of Nations, Ultimum Limited holds a press conference in Lagos to announce the partnership of the Confederation of Africa Football, CAF, with their product, Razzle Soft Drink.
You will dazzle with Razzle.
Customers, journalists, football fans, dignitaries, and ex-internationals are all in attendance.
Keep it going, keep it going.
Razzle, a soft drink taking Nigeria by storm, is the official soft drink of the Africa Cup of Nations to be held next year.
When you look at Razzle as a brand in terms of brand essence, it's really about connecting with our consumers, connecting with our target consumers. So what else? How else can you connect with our target consumers except through exciting moments like AFCON and partnering with CAF? So one of our goals basically is to support African football.
By entering the market this year, Razzle Soft Drink is determined to give their customers a unique football experience.
When you want to create exciting moments, you need some refreshment. So Razzle will be right at the heart of the refreshing moments during the AFCON. From the 13th of January to the 11th of February, Razzle is going to be there to refresh spectators. Razzle is going to be there to refresh the officials. Razzle is going to be there to refresh the players, right from their hotel rooms down to the field of play.
In addition, an all-expense-paid trip to the Nations Cup and a 1 million naira prize money will be given to the winner of a freestyle football competition.
Amazing. What's he about to do? Wow. Wow. Freestyle football.
The partnership highlights the commitment of Razzle to create memorable experiences.
I am amazed because the first thing that caught my attention was when I came in and said official sponsor of the CAF Africa Cup of Nations. I'm like, how? I googled that up. I'm like, that is serious, because this is just a very young brand, as we heard, that started up in July this year. So we're talking about 6 months or thereabouts behind, and now they are the official sponsor of the CAF Africa Cup of Nations for 2023. That is audacious.
Apart from the competition is one, the official drinks, and on the other hand, fans are also participating. So I think I find it very interesting. I find it very good. It's nice.
For Ultimum Limited, celebrating the love for football and contributing to an ambience that unites fans is the ultimate goal.
And to our first conversation now, Aliko Dangote, the founder of Dangote Refinery, has announced the successful acquisition of its inaugural cargo deal comprising about 6 million barrels set for imminent delivery. This development comes on the heels of the highly anticipated commencement of the project, which is slated to begin operations at a daily capacity of 350,000 barrels. That's next month, really close. So joining us now is Mr. Bismarck Rouhani, CEO of Financial Derivatives Company. Good to have you on the show, sir.
Good. Thank you for having me.
So
I was here for a while.
Exactly. It's good to have you right here in the studio on the Business Morning set. So this is big news, definitely. We've all been waiting,
Huge.
For this moment. Now, first of all, talk to me about the significance of securing this cargo deal at this time.
The refinery is of no use if it has nothing to refine.
Right.
So where's the crude coming from? Nigeria produces about 1.4 million barrels a day now, maybe 1.2 million barrels a day. But what does it do? It has a crude exchange swap program. It sends out about 500,000 barrels to Rotterdam, people refining and bring it back, and it's full of so much of an opaque structure. So what this does, it brings transparency to the process, one. Two, it allows you to actually take your crude in Nigeria, refine it in Nigeria, use the refined products in Nigeria, and export something else to the whole of West Africa. To put some context into this, the whole of West Africa consumes about 56 million barrels, 56 million liters a day. Nigeria is said to consume about 60 million liters. So we're talking about 100 million liters a day. So the Dangote Refinery is able to produce for the whole of West Africa and a lot more. And yet we're using only 350,000 barrels a day. The capacity of this refinery is about 650,000 barrels a day. That's the first thing. Secondly, the impact is that the gross fixed investment is $19 billion, right? $19 billion, the gross fixed investment for the whole of Nigeria today is $95 billion. This investment alone is about 23% of the total gross fixed investment in Nigeria. Therefore, and the investment multiplier is what leads to an increase in income. So it does that. First of all, it secures availability and supply throughout the year. It reduces the transportation costs. It reduces the ability to manipulate. But it also, you are exporting refined products. If you export crude, you get $80 per barrel. But if you export refined products, you get much more up the value chain. And therefore it increases Nigeria's export earnings from that process alone. Quite jobs. So it's a significant development.
Quite a significant development. But generally, when it comes to commencement of refineries in Nigeria, there seems to be some kind of shifting of goalposts. Like now, we're expecting the Port Harcourt refinery also in December. That's from the government. And now we've also had shift when it comes to commencement for the Dangote Refinery. Is there a risk that we might not get that commencement December? Is it possible?
No, I think, first of all, I think we'll commence in December. But of what relevance is it if a private individual, a private company shifts the date of its commencement? If Nigerian Breweries is trying to commission its brewery in January and now commissions it in April, it's their loss of sales. It's not the government. The government has no investment in this. But the good thing is that because it's a significant part of our gross fixed investment, it's important that we bring it to fruition, and now it's going to happen. Secondly, even securing the crude from Nigeria, because Nigeria has committed a lot of forward contracts, has been a problem. So if you set up a refinery and you cannot get the crude, the alternative is for the Dangote refinery to import crude to refine and sell to you. So, which is, you can imagine that.
So,
right?
So at this point, with this cargo, secured, at this time now, going forward, is the Dangote refinery assured to get crude?
Oh, definitely, definitely. It doesn't make sense for Nigeria to be exporting crude on forward contracts and not being able to refine its own products for its own citizens and for the West and Central Africa. It doesn't make sense. So, but let's look at it in the context. Look, this refinery is likely, most likely going to be listed in the Nigerian Stock Exchange 2024-25. If it, by listing this $19 billion to $20 billion investment, it increases market capitalization of Nigerian stock market by 60%. Not only that, the group itself, that's Dangote Sugar, Salt, Cement, and others, pays taxes of it pays taxes of 146 billion naira a year and pays dividends to shareholders of 357 billion naira a year. So 146 billion naira a year and 357 billion naira a year taxes, and so it's not a capitalistic investment to that extent, but it is democratizing the process of shareholding, so that just like when MTN was a private company, it had all sorts of problems, but by the time it democratized its ownership and spread it out, when MTN declares a dividend today, everybody in town is happy because it's a success story. It's democratized, its ownership is democratized. It is now considered to be Nigerian, and that transformation, right? They now have a Nigerian CEO and all that. That helped. So the same thing is happening for these kind of companies which are dominant and leaders in their own industries. So the contention today is that by doing this, one, you get guaranteed supply, two, you get taxes paid, people get dividends, and it also ensures that there's no disruption to activity. On my way here today in Victoria Island, there were queues all over the place. Why? People are speculating that there might be a petrol shortage. No, that will be a thing of the past if this is allowed to happen. So what we should be doing is encouraging more. If we had about 5 conglomerates of this nature owned by different people, right, you'll find that the total investment in this country is going to be significant. And let's put it, today or yesterday, the budget was announced. The total spend in dollar terms of the Nigerian budget is $23 billion. This investment alone is $19 to $20 billion. And that's the whole of Nigeria. By the time so let us say the total state budgets are another 50. So we are talking about $100 billion. Yet, we are aspiring to make this economy a $1 trillion economy, growing by about 8%. Yet, we are spending, the total federal government expenditure is only $23 billion. What on earth is going to make, what's going to multiply the $23 billion to make it into $1 trillion? So,
all right, so here's the $1 million question,
yes,
at this time, because Mr. Ronnie, I spend a lot at the pumps,
yes,
just to fill up my tank, and it can be quite, it punches a big hole
in your pocket,
in my pocket, and I'm sure Nigerians will be wondering at this time, what's going to happen with pricing of fuel with the commencement of this refinery?
I think,
does it push down the price?
Availability of supply and price are two different things. It doesn't bring down the price. The price is a function of demand, supply, right? And the supply is a function of availability of products, right? What I see happening as we go along is that if the availability is there, it reduces distribution costs, it reduces logistics costs, and therefore, added to other things, combined with other factors, we see inflation moderating in the year 2024 into 25, you will hear the Minister of Finance, the central bank governor actually made it very clear. Prime responsibility is to bring down inflation. So when inflation begins to decline, inflation is a thief of value, while money is a store of value. So once we bring inflation under control, then the thief of the value in your pocket, that guy putting a hole in your pocket, is being, reduced, and therefore, and if the hole in your pocket is getting smaller, then the leakages from your pocket are getting, and therefore you'll be probably a happier person in 2020, towards the end of 2024. Right now, this is a bad Christmas for you.
Right, because we've heard, from the government, they said refineries doesn't translate, to lower prices. And I'm wondering, at the end of the day, we're taking out the cost of, transporting.
With all due respect, the government is not an economist, right?
Okay.
The basic laws of economics is that demand, supply. If supply increases, what happens? The prices come down, right? So that's what it is. So we must differentiate between policy promises and policy decisions. So there are a lot of promises.
Because at the end of the day, this is a private owned, and definitely they're in it for business, to make money.
But it can, if you overprice yourself, nobody will buy it, right? So businesses lose money for mispricing, So and you see, if that happens, if the price becomes too high, people will smuggle petrol from West Africa into Nigeria. We've seen that happen in rice. We've seen this happen in all of these things. So we'll see.
And talking about the Dangote Refinery listing on the NGX,
yes.
What does this do for the economy?
Well, you see, let's put it this way. Nigeria's economy is roughly $400 billion, and today the stock market capitalization may be about $39 billion. If you add another $19 billion, the assets under management, right, it attracts. The bigger this your economy, the market capitalization, the more people come in there. The more index funds, the more portfolio managers begin to look at it. And that brings in money. So you have portfolio funds, you have foreign direct investment, right? And you have domestic investment. All of this put together gives you your market capitalization and total capital stock in the country. The capital stock in Nigeria is still abysmally low, right? You cannot have your stock market capitalization being only 20 or 30% of your GDP. In South Africa, it's about 159%, 195%. In the United States, about 125%. So if we are to make our stock markets 100% of our GDP, it means your stock market will go from $39 billion to $400 billion. Can you imagine what that means? And you have a multiplier of that, that's one way, or it's one and the most important way of achieving the goal of having $1 trillion. Not in 7 years, probably a bit longer, but that's the goal. At least the government and the president has made it clear that I want to achieve this. We'll see.
And it's quite incredible. The NGX has outperformed most markets at this time, even with the macroeconomic headwinds. But talk to me now, how does this refinery play into the inflation story in Nigeria?
Well, you notice that I've been talking about it in dollar terms. It's $19 billion. Price of crude is $80 a barrel. The inputs are all. So inflation in the U.S. is about 3.5% to 4% now. It came down all the way from 11%. So I'm not concerned about that, because the alternative, if we didn't have this refinery, we would have had to be somebody refining for us in Rotterdam, transporting in there. It's full of all sort of opaque contraptions, which pushes up the price. I think that the fact that supply is steady, the fact that it's open, and everybody is seeing it, it means that the efficient market hypothesis will play in, which means that theoretically we should be seeing a decline in price in dollar terms. But if your exchange rate drops, then that's what you just talked about, the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Yes, it had 38%, but your currency fell by 45%. So net, you are underwater.
Right. All right, before I let you go now, definitely everyone's talking about what the central bank governor said last week, Friday. And definitely we've seen in global markets now It's still a talk about higher for longer when it comes to interest rates. Do you think in Nigeria to be higher for much longer with what was said?
Well, I think the goal of the central bank, if I heard the governor right, what he said is important, but what he did not say is even more important, right? So the goal is to bring inflation under control. Inflation under control does not happen overnight. One of the tools for managing inflation globally and accepted is to actually increase interest rates. If you increase interest rates, the goal, first of all, is to mobilize savings. Because what you don't consume, you save. If you increase your savings, your consumption reduces. If consumption reduces, prices fall, right, over time, right? So I think that is the whole idea. But the contradiction was that at the end of the speech, he said we will have to lend money to small and medium scale. That's okay, but there are channels for doing that. But that's not it. The primary goal is to increase the rate of national savings to ensure that people mobilize these funds, right? And people use it, right, for investment. And the investment has a multiplier which increases output. If output increases and money supply is static, remember he said, I want to deal with the transmission mechanism, then inflation comes down. Inflation in Ghana went as high as 54%. It's now down to about 34%. They kept interest rates static yesterday. Inflation in South Africa is something like almost 6%. So why should ours be in 30s? Even if you use a synthetic basket, you find that your inflation is actually much higher than that. But the interesting thing is that since the exchange rate has kind of stabilized a little bit at about 1,200 Naira to a dollar, you'll find that the rate of increase in inflation has actually slowed. So in other words, the rot and the decay is becoming less potent. And that way, not this Christmas, right? Because this is going to be
Right.
a tough Christmas. But next year, we should be maybe smiling a little bit more than we're smiling
More than
right
now. Hopefully, a white Christmas at some point.
Well, let me say a beige Christmas.
Beige. Thank you so much.
Not yet white.
Not yet white. Thank you so much for coming on, Mr. Bismarck Rouhani, CEO of Financial Derivatives Company.
It's a pleasure.
It was great having this conversation
Thank you.
with you. Thank you. All right, so see, the Nanyang Technological University in Singapore and Center for African Studies did some research on the Nigerian economy, providing some economic solutions to get Nigeria out of the current economic woes. These economic problems and solutions were well presented by Amit Jain, Director, NTU SBF Center for African Studies. Notable Nigerians from the economy and the banking sector were also part of the panel section. The theme of the gathering was Back to Growth, Priority Agenda for the Economic Revival of Nigeria. Take a listen.
My own empirical understanding of the Nigerian economy says that 14% is probably the outside. It's a range of 10 to 14%. I remember when the former Emir of Kano, Lamido Sanusi, was governor of the central bank, and I was a member of the Monetary Policy Committee. The target was 9%. It was single digit. Inflation was what the central bank set out to achieve. Now, for me, as I said, it'd be useful to wait and hear what the central bank in its own targets, when it sets out the specifics of the target and its full plan.
So the first 2 years, stabilize the economy, and that's the approach. Curtail any wasteful expenditure, public expenditure, that should be curtailed. Avoid taking on more. So there should be more emphasis on fiscal discipline for the first 2 years. Once you have the stabilization that is achieved, you should then be looking at structural reforms that should revive growth, and that means improving the business climate, hard infrastructure, and all those things that come with reviving growth.
And earlier this month, we had the Global Tech Africa Conference in Lagos with the theme, Facilitating Investment in Africa's Digital Economy. Let's see how Nigeria can attract investment in the digital economy and train most of the talents we have there. Joining us now is Kashifu Noah Abdullahi, Director General of the National Information Technology Development Agency. That's NITSDA. Join us from our Abuja studio. It's great to have you on the show. Good morning.
Thank you, Ladi. Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Great to have you. So, talk to us about the partnerships and investments at the Global Tech Africa Conference. We had that earlier this month.
Okay, let me start by laying the foundation of why we did the Global Tech Africa. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is committed to uplifting Nigeria through digital transformation, innovation, and economic growth. To achieve that, our minister, the Minister of Federal Ministry of Communications, Innovations, and Digital Economy, Dr. Bosun Tijani, unveiled strategic plan for the ministry with 5 strategic pillars. That is knowledge, policy, infrastructure, innovation, entrepreneurship, and capital, and trade. And our ministry is critical to implementing this strategic plan. And we also have our own strategic roadmap and action plan, which has 8 strategic pillars. Among them is forge strategic partnership and collaboration. And we designed the Global Tech Africa Conference to achieve that in collaboration with the private sector, foundation, not-for-profit organization, and other multinationals in the country. And the idea is about bringing the world to Nigeria to see our potentials in the digital economy. And we succeeded in bringing a large delegation from Germany. We have a large delegation from the DLD coming to Nigeria, and they want to collaborate and partner with us to create a talent pipeline between Nigeria and Germany. Because Germany is a strong nation, they have a strong economy, but they are lacking talent. And in Nigeria, we have a young population and talented population. So they want us to design an initiative that we can create a pipeline where Nigeria can supply talent to the German tech ecosystem. And this resonated well with a research done by Conferry. According to the research, by 2030, there would be 85.2 million talent deficit globally. If left unaddressed, that could result to $8.5 trillion in unrealized annual value. And there is also another research by PwC talking about the Nigerian brain export, the optimal path to growing the Nigerian economy. So looking at these 2 research, if you juxtapose it with the priority of our president in terms of improving the livelihood, a growing economy, and harnessing our human resources, Nigeria has a huge opportunity to leapfrog through technology and talent. And also Nigeria can become the global talent factory or the global talent net exporter, because our greatest resource today is not the mineral resources we have underneath us, but our talent, our population. We have a population whereby 60% of that population is under 25. That means digitally native. And also this population has access to the latest technology and services. For example, when ATM machine was launched, it took almost 20 years to reach Nigeria. But when ChatGPT was launched, it reached Nigeria the same time it was launched. I can say the same minute it was launched, Nigerians started using it. So you can see today we have access to the latest technology and services. We want to leverage on that to position Nigeria as the global talent net exporter. So to achieve that, at NIDA, we are going to unveil our strategy next year, which has 8 strategic pillars. Firstly is foster digital literacy and cultivate talents, because digital literacy is the currency today we use in the digital economy, because the economy is about the number of users you have in a platform, and your platform is as big as it is number of users it has. So we need to leverage on our population to get all Nigerians to have equal access to these technologies and services. To achieve that, we have an ambitious target of achieving 95% digital literacy by 2030, and we have a short-term goal of achieving 70% by 2027.
All right,
And
Mr. Abdullahi,
secondly, in terms of
let me jump in here. Let me jump in here, Mr. Abdullahi. So you did talk about, the report about brain exports, and definitely we also have a Japa issue, right now, and definitely most of that is tech talent, going out at this time. Talk to me about balancing Japa and brain exports, and also, getting the benefits, of brain exports instead of people just leaving the country for greener pastures.
Yeah, for me, I look at it from 2 perspectives. There is 2 ways of seeing things in the world. You either see what you want and go for it, or you see what you want, but you know what you want, but you can only see what will stop you from getting what you want. So the Japa syndrome also, it depends on how we look at it. It can be a positive and we can harness it and create value from it. India deliberately exported its citizens to dominate the global tech ecosystem. Today, in every 5 C-level executive in big tech in the world, 1 is an Indian. That means almost 20% of the executive C-level in the global big techs are Indians. And India is generating huge amount from that remittances. And also, they design a system for business process outsourcing, where India is providing services to the global value chain through business processing outsourcing. That means leveraging technology to get Indians to provide services to different countries while living in India.
Right.
Then,
yeah, you can go on.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You can go on.
Okay. Today, India is generating over $200 billion from the business process outsourcing. So Nigeria also, if you look at it, we have a lot of people that left the country for greener pasture, but they are sending remittances back home. Nigeria is generating more forex from remittances than what we generate from oil and gas. So we are trying to design a system where government can harness this power of our human capital. Like we are, as part of what we are doing, the minister launched an initiative, 3 million tech talent, trying to train 3 million Nigerians to position 1.5 million to work locally, and 1.5 million Nigerians, we want to connect them to the global value chain. Means they can stay back in Nigeria and work for international organizations and countries. And also we have another initiative in business process outsourcing. How can we position Nigeria to become the preferred outsourcing destination in the world? Because we have more competitive advantage than India when it comes to business process outsourcing. We have younger population, and we have better accent than India, and we have better time zone. So
quite
if you harness this well,
yeah, quite interesting. But before I let you go, now, please talk to me quickly. What kind of investments can we expect in Nigeria's tech space going forward from the government?
Government is hugely investing on talent, creating the talent, because the talent or knowledge is the foundation upon which countries build robust and sustainable economy. We are also investing in creating a robust research ecosystem. We want to put Nigeria among the top 25 percentile in research in 6 emerging technologies, including artificial intelligence, blockchain, robotics, additive manufacturing, IoT, and UAV. So these are the future technology. If we position ourselves well, we create a strong research ecosystem, we can come with innovative ideas from Nigeria. Also, government is investing in establishing startup seed funding, because capital really helps startup to nurture their ideas. Innovation is when you take your idea from inception to impact. So, and to invent, you need a capital. So government is providing capital for startups to build their prototype, and also to open market for investors to come and invest as well. In addition to that, we are creating the right environment for investment and trade. When we build the talent locally, we need to find a way to connect it with the global value chain and export that talent.
Right.
And also how we can promote building super apps in Nigeria so that we can solve our problems locally.
Right. I can't wait for a time where we're actually, producing apps in Nigeria, and we see more investment when it comes to research and development in Nigeria. Thank you so much for coming on, Madam Kashifu Inuwa Abdullahi, DG, National Information Technology Development Agency, NETDA. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll take a breather now. When we come back, we head to the markets. That's in a moment. Just stay with us. Now let's head straight to the markets now. We have Willie Bong with the details. Great to have you, Will. So the first trading day after the much anticipated policy speech from the central bank governor didn't disappoint.
It didn't disappoint.
Right.
However, we just got that inverse relation. Trading yesterday with the equity cap and the all-share index, but we're still looking into that to know what stock moved the market. But that's apparently from what we got, we've not seen anything yet. So
I guess you need detectives to actually know what happened there.
But we opened in the green. As I said, I wanted the green yesterday, and I got the green. So, Ladi, we're kicking off on a very good note.
You're getting what you want these days. Quite interesting.
Quite interesting. So, we're seeing the local buzz starting the week off with bullish sentiments, and we saw bargain hunting in FBN Holdings, up 10% yesterday. The NGX rose higher by 0.17%. Now, month-to-date and year-to-date returns increasing now, 3.1% for month-to-date and 39.2% year-to-date. Great one for the equities market. Now, total volume traded yesterday advanced by about 28%. We see 746.67 million units traded, valued at 5.94 billion naira, and transacted in over 9,000 deals. All in the green. See your green for the turnover chart yesterday. And I looked at the sectors. We see banking was up 1.71%. It was hinged on, the performance of the NGX today was hinged on the banking sector. Consumer goods was in the negative. All share, the industrial goods was flat. We saw insurance also flat. Oil and gas unchanged since last week. We wonder what's going on in that space. Now, Universal Insurance was the most traded stock by volume yesterday. It's been topping that trade chart for some time now, but we're going to be talking to Rotimi Fakayojo. He's the capital market analyst, is going to be joining us and giving us insights on the market. Good morning, Mr. Fakayojo. It's good to have you on the show.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So good start to the market, good start to the week. The index rose on gains from the banking stocks. Are we seeing reaction to the CBN governor's speech here?
Well, I think it is still very much far from what we would have expected, because now specifics have not been given. So because there are banks that are already having equity base of over 1.4 trillion, and we don't know what exact figure they're going to pin down for each bank to meet up with. So I don't really see much of an effect on this going forward, because I believe the timeline also will be very much sufficient for them to be able to do what they have to do, because the target is $1 trillion by the year by the 7th year of for a 7-year program. So I think the transition period from the present capital base to the new capital base should take at least minimum of about 2 or 3 years, so as for them to be able to sufficiently do what they have to do. And given what it is, I think the banks are still very much profitable. And I think even organically, they may be able to add that value going forward to their equity base. So I think the shareholders' fund is very robust for most of the banks, depending on what specific figures that will be required of them from the CBN with respect to the new policy that is coming forth.
So while we wait and see what how that will work out for the banks, FCMB released their unaudited annual results yesterday. Came out with a fantastic EPS of 3.31 kobo. Don't you think that it's been quite phenomenal for that bank? What is their trajectory, and how would you rate their performance so far?
Well, I think the differential in the figures that we are seeing relative to 2022, I think is quite substantial. And also, the way I see it is quite sustainable, because there is no new item or unusual item in the P&L statement that has added significantly to the new figures that we are seeing. So I think everything is born out of their usual banking processes that they will be able to sustain over time. So the market responded positively, and today again we are still seeing more positive reactions. At a time during trading today, we've seen the figure, the bank gain as much as 25 kobo, or presently is gaining 10 kobo. And I think it's definitely going to add more value to other banks too. So I think the banks, with the way they are structured, they have come to stay, and I believe that we are going to see better of them by the time investors see what the figures will be for the end of the financial year. But be that as it may, I see FCMB also having a double digit in their price, that is scaling above 9 Naira, which time, at least that may happen between now and February, when the results will be out.
Okay, well, what of their dividend payout? Some people have complained about poor dividend payout for FCMB when compared to other tier 2 banks. Do you think that they're going to up their game in terms of paying interim dividends, going forward?
Well, I think you pay what you make. Now that they are making more, they're definitely going to pay more. So it depends on the dividend policy of each of the banks. Some pay just a mere 10% of their profits. Some pay as much as 25%, like we have in the likes of GTCO and Zenith Bank. Some pay maybe just about 15 or 20%, like we have for UBA and Access. So it depends on the dividend policy of the bank. But now that they are making more money, the investors should expect to earn more dividend.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rotimi Fakayojo, capital market analyst, for sharing your insights on Business Morning.
You're welcome.
So, Ladi, the NESD market closed yesterday 0.84% up. So, positive trends, positive sentiment for the market, both unlisted and unlisted. So, we'll see how today ends.
Watching out for today's close. Thank you so much, Will, for the details. All right, let's get a check of what's happening in London now. Juliana joins us from our London studio. Great to have you, Juliana. So, we got some investment announcements. The UK Investment Summit, that was yesterday. Bring us up to speed on what happened. Juliana, can you hear me now? All right, we're trying to get Juliana settled there. Juliana, if you can hear me. Okay, yeah. Okay, if you can hear me now, Juliana, so we got some investment announcements yesterday at the UK Investment Summit. Talk to us about most of this investment and what to expect.
Right, okay. So you can see me, Ladi?
I can see you, I can hear you. Fantastic.
Okay, right. I didn't know that we were in vision while we were sorting out our technical issues. Okay, so the global business elite have descended onto London. I'm also having lots of feedback. So unfortunately, I'm hearing every single word I'm saying, which is making it very difficult, I'm afraid.
Sorry about that, Juliana. We'll try and sort that out soon. But in the meantime, let's take a look at what's happening in other markets now. We'll try and sort out that audio issue there. Let's take a look at what's happening with other markets now. We see it's bear activity in the markets right now. We see Bitcoin there, 37,033. Did fall below this 37,000 level, down 1.07%. Ethereum holding on to that 2,000 level after falling below the 2,000 level for BNB, down 1.92%. Big drops we're seeing. A lot of bear activity in the market right now. Let's look at the sentiments now. We see it's still greed, still 66 points, just like yesterday. But we're seeing lower movements when it comes to fear and greed in the market at this time. If we flip over to the top cryptocurrencies we track, we see Bitcoin there, $37,442, up 0.20%. We see Ethereum at 8 a.m. this morning holding on to that $2,000 level. BNB, $235. Cardano, 39 cents. XRP holding up that 62 cent level, 1.91%. That's looking really good this morning, even though we saw bear activity last night. And gas, we've not seen this one on the top Guinness counter for a while now, $9.15, up 18.55%. Blur is also on that top Guinness counter, 55 cents, 12.59%. So we're seeing a couple of double-digit gains in the market, at this time. We'll be talking to Element Danbell to bring us up to speed on what the technicals are saying. Elrond there, holding on, $46.34 per coin, 4.55% up. Mina Protocol holding strong at 68 cents. So we're seeing good gains this morning, even though we saw a lot of sell-offs last night into this morning. Let's bring in Element Danbell now, technical analyst. Hello, Element. Great to have you. Good morning.
Having me.
So we got that news yesterday. Binance founder CZ was ordered by a judge in the U.S. to stay in the U.S. ahead of his prison sentencing. What are you hearing about this, and is that what's causing bear activity in the market?
I think the situation we're seeing with CZ is kind of similar to what we saw with SBF, and again, similar crypto regulatory issues in the past where, of course, the judge would automatically move just to keep, again, the person currently in the country. So similar to SBF is what we see happening with CZ. So I wouldn't necessarily say that has anything to do with the move. I think it's just more a case of just profit taking, because again, we have seen like an extended period of bullish activity for the last 2 or 3 weeks. So it just looks like markets are starting to settle after this extended period of gains.
All right, I want you to look into your crystal ball now. Tell me what the technicals are saying. Are we at overbought territory or oversold at this time? What are you seeing for Bitcoin and Ethereum?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I think you have to look at it from two lenses, short-term and mid-term. So if you're looking at it from a short-term perspective, we're absolutely overbought. in the sense of looking at Bitcoin, looking at Ethereum. Both are trading close to, if not over the 70 level, which is the threshold of being overbought. But if you're looking more midterm on a weekly and then going to longer term on a monthly time frame, it does look like we are halfway there in terms of being overbought. So it's currently hovering around the 50 area on the weekly in terms of the RSI, but we have seen it go to as high as 90. So longer term and midterm bulls for both of these cryptocurrencies, and the crypto landscape in general will be very bullish in the long term.
Yeah, and talking about being bullish in the long term, do you see some kind of Santa rally coming December?
Yeah, historically, if you remember the famous rally which took place, I believe it was 2017, 2018, where we saw Bitcoin go, I don't know, to 22K or over 20K for the first time. So historically, we have seen similar anecdotal rises, and especially with Ethereum, which is one I'm keeping a very close eye on. It has broken out of its level of 51, which has been a very, very key resistance level on a monthly time frame. Is currently hovering around 53. So it does look like there could be some more gains with a potential move to 2,500, even 3K potentially on the cards.
I'm talking about Bitcoin, looking at some of the resistance zones. What levels should investors or traders be looking at this time?
Yeah, I think the main one, you're looking at around, again, 38K, but again, it looks like it's potentially making a run towards 45. 45 seems to be the next real resistance level. Of course, everyone's going to be looking at 40K, but on the longer term, I do believe 45K seems to be where it is heading to. Just currently looking at the monthly time frame as we speak, it does look like, just to bring in the moving averages, there's a potential crossover just about to occur there. So if that upwards crossover of the simple moving averages do occur, as well as a resistance of 57 gets broken on the RSI, I think we could be looking at Bitcoin at 45K in the next few weeks.
In the next few weeks. I'll be definitely looking out for that. And I'll call you if that happens. Thank you so much, Element Damble.
No, absolutely. Thank you for having me, Lottie.
Thank you.
Cheers.
All right, we'll get back to the market now. We'll see the top losers counter. Celestia, one of the new kids on the block, $5.54, down 7.71%. We see the ordinals too, also got listed recently, trading at 21.21, down 7.06%. IMX, immutable, $1.39. Clayton, also on the top losers counter, 21 cents, down 5.43%. So we saw sell-offs yesterday, but still a greedy market right now. Definitely looking out for what happens going forward. So that's it. That's how the markets are looking today. That's a wrap on the program. Don't forget, you can join us again 1:30 p.m. for Business Incorporated. More updates and developments in the world of business. Also visit www.channelcv.com for more updates. Thank you for watching. I'm Ladi Williams from me and the team right here at Channels HQ. It's bye for now.